everyone, and welcome back to episode 119 of the Dear Herbalist Podcast, titled Polypharmacy in Herbal Medicine Balancing Complexity in Formulas. If you are new to this podcast, you are most certainly welcome. And if you are a returning listener, thank you so much for your continued support. Tonight, I want to talk about a topic that's both fascinating and sometimes a little tricky, and that's called polypharmacy in herbal medicine. Now, when you hear polypharmacy, you might immediately think of your clients juggling multiple prescription drugs. And of course, that's definitely part of it. But tonight, we're going to focus mostly on polypharmacy within herbal practice itself, meaning the way we actually combine multiple herbs in our formulations and what that means for us as herbal medicine practitioners, as we like to call ourselves sometimes. Not all the time, sometimes. So it doesn't matter if you're a seasoned clinical herbalist or if you're a student or you're just starting out or you're just starting to begin formulation and putting together your formulas. Tonight's episode is going to give you some practical insights into how you manage the complexity of those herbal formulations while staying safe and getting the most out of your herbal blends. So let's first start by defining herbal polypharmacy because I think that's very important as I continue to use this term throughout this podcast. It's very important that you understand what it means. So, in simple terms, polypharmacy means using multiple substances at the same time. In mainstream medicine, it usually refers to patients taking several pharmaceutical drugs simultaneously, which can raise safety concerns. But herbal medicine naturally involves polypharmacy because most herbalists don't work with single herbs by themselves. Instead, most herbalists combine several plants into formulas that are designed to work together synergistically. One fascinating thing about plants is that many contain multiple active compounds, such as alkaloids, flavonoids, terpenes, and glycosides, that each address different facets of a disease or an imbalance in the body. So, for example, one compound might be anti inflammatory, while another could be immune modulating, while another one can actually support the repairs of the tissues. And this complexity means that one single herb can be multitasking within the body, and combining herbs multiplies that effect. That is the benefit of using herbal medicine over any other forms of medicine. However, this complexity also means that there's more to keep track of in terms of your herbs, what you're using, and the different compounds that are within those herbs. Because different herbs can interact with each other in ways that either enhance or sometimes interfere with their actions. So, understanding polypharmacy in herbal medicine means knowing how to balance these interactions effectively. Now, why do we do this? We do this because herbs often have multiple actions, and by combining them thoughtfully, we can create formulas to address different aspects of a person's health, from calming their nerves to reducing inflammation to supporting digestion all at once. Now, let's talk a little bit about why herbal polypharmacy matters. All right, why is this important? There are clear benefits to polypharmacy in herbal medicine, so we'll talk about those. Number one is synergy. When herbs work together, their combined effect can be greater than the sum of their parts. So, for example, pairing an herb that supports liver detox with one that actually soothes inflammation can offer more comprehensive support for a liver condition. Another clear benefit of polypharmacy is the broad spectrum action. Complex conditions rarely come from a single cause, so formulas that address multiple pathways can actually be more effective. Another benefit is balancing energetics. Traditional herbal systems use combinations to balance warming, cooling, drying, and moistening actions. But just as much as there are benefits, there can be some challenges. So these are some of the things when you are formulating, especially using multiple herbs in polypharmacy. These are some of the things that you need to be aware of, take into consideration. And one of the things are the overlapping effects, because this can lead to stronger than intended reactions. So either let's say if you want to sedate someone, either it's too much sedation or uh, too much of a digestive effect. You want to be aware of these type of things. Another thing is that some herbs can actually counteract each other's effects, reducing the overall efficacy. Another challenge is the increased risk of side effects or toxicity if you don't dose your herbal formulations carefully. I know sometimes people think that just because you are taking herbs, that it's like there's no point, no way possible that it could be toxic to your body. But anything that is too much, too in excess, especially in certain compounds and certain formulations, it could cause damage to the body. So you definitely want to be careful and make sure that you are dosing things properly. If they are not dosed properly, then that's when they can become toxic. So you have to be careful and aware of that. So herbal polypharmacy is powerful, but it does require knowledge and care in order to utilize it effectively. So safety is always a big point to take into consideration with different herbs. And in polypharmacy, let's talk about how we can manage this complexity safely and more effectively. So, these are some tips that I'm going to give you tonight. And I always tell you guys on this podcast, you're going to learn something. So, grab your notebooks, pens, pads, papers, back of a receipt, whatever you can find to write these notes down, because everything that I'm giving you tonight is going to help you. I try to make sure that sometimes in my podcast, I'm just talking, right? I'm talking to you. But at the end of the day, my goal is always to educate. So there's a lot of information in this podcast, and not just this one, but the ones that I have done prior to help you on your herbal medicine journey. And the concept of herbal polypharmacy, some people may feel like it's a more advanced concept, but I think it's a concept that everyone needs to know about, whether you're just starting out or whether you're advanced, no matter what, when it comes to formulation, you want to be able to understand these different types of interactions and the chemistry that is involved. So, as the demystified herbalist, it is my job to break down some of these seemingly complex topics and concepts and make it to where the common man can understand them so that you know how to utilize them when you're doing your own formulation. So, let me give you some practical tips that will help you when it comes to herbal polypharmacy and safety. Okay. Number one, make sure that you know your herbs deeply. Understand the chemistry, the energetics, the traditional uses of each herb in your formula. This is a foundational principle. This is very, very important. So, when you're talking about herbs, I know a lot of people want to focus on the spiritual aspect of things, but from a practical standpoint, you want to understand the chemistry, phytochemistry, the energetics, and the traditional uses so that way you can utilize them in your formulations safely. Another thing is start simple and then layer complexity. So begin with a few herbs and then add more gradually as you need them. This will allow you to be able to observe how each addition changes the formula's effect. So you don't want to start out with like the traditional Chinese medicine formulations with like 8 to 10 herbs. Start out with just a couple of them, maybe two or three. And then from there, if the formulation calls for it, then you can start adding in more herbs and then monitoring the changes that the formulation could bring to yourself or to your clients as well. Another thing is use trusted resources. There are a lot of great herb databases out there and different books and texts that actually talk about interactions and cautions. So keep these handy as well. A lot of these herbs are well studied, okay, not just here in the United States, but globally. And they have been studied by people that have these huge labs, that have these big budgets, okay? So take a look at their research and how they say that these chemicals are actually interacting. Because, yeah, the common man doesn't have a full out lab, in his garage or in his home. And so you just kind of have to go on what you see visually, right? And just basic understanding of the energetics of the earth. But a lot of these other scientists that have these huge labs that study these things, they give us an even stronger insight into the possibilities of these interactions with the herbs. So use trusted resources and look up some of these herbs and see if people have tried these combinations before, because that'll also help you as well. Another thing is monitor your clients' responses closely and encourage your clients to report any changes, any side effects, any improvements so you can adjust your formula as needed. And stress the importance of honesty no matter what. Okay. Hey, let me know. Don't worry about hurting my feelings. Don't worry, you know what I'm saying? Don't worry about, you know, oh, it's working too well or it ain't working well enough. Whatever the case may be, what are you feeling? What's going on with your body after you take this particular formulation? What do you notice? Is your stomach acting different? Do you feel like you have more energy if that's the reason for the formula? Do you feel like it's more sedating if you need more calming effects? What do you feel after and around when you are taking this herbal formulation? And let them know that the reason why you want to do that is because you want it to be effective. You want to see if the body has adapted to the formula and you may need to increase the dosage, or maybe the body has adjusted and metabolized it way too well and you need to reduce it. But at any rate, you want to monitor your client's responses very closely. Another thing is to document everything. So keep clear records of what you're giving each client, their feedback. I don't even care if it's medicine at home or some to your friends, your family. Document these things as well as their feedback because this will not only help your business, but it also contributes to the broader scale of herbalists all around everywhere because we can share this information and say, you know what, I had this one client who had this multiple herb formula. This is how it worked for them. So you can kind of share this information in these herbal community spaces to help other people as well. Remember, it's about a community, it's not about isolation. And let me give you a quick note because I did briefly mention in the beginning about taking pharmaceuticals because the reality of it is that some of our clients are on pharmaceuticals. A lot of the world, a lot of the population is on pharmaceuticals. So we cannot be ignorant to that fact. And as a matter of fact, if you're giving herbal remedies to anyone, you need to know that. Are they taking certain prescription medications because we don't want negative interactions, right? And so I want to touch briefly on our clients who are also taking pharmaceuticals because this is an important reality for a lot of us herbalists today. And you almost want to err on the side of caution because and act like for some of these conditions that people may come to you with, especially if they've been to their doctor very heavy, you want to almost assume that they are taking certain medications so that you are not recommending things that negatively interact with those, right? Especially if your client is working to reduce the dosages of the pharmaceuticals to eventually leave them and move over to herbal medicine. You want that transition to be nice and smooth and not have any type of adverse reactions, right? Now, this isn't the main focus of what we're talking about tonight, but I want to make sure that I acknowledge it. When our clients are on multiple medication, the risk of herb drug interactions adds another layer of complexity. Some herbs can actually alter drug metabolism or potentiate effects. So, always, always, always encourage open communication with clients about their medications when possible. Um, and if you can, try to collaborate with healthcare providers. And I know that's not always an easy thing to do because we have different philosophies and different perspectives, but at least understanding, the care that the person is getting as well as the recommendations that are being made by their doctor, that's important to know. And again, always encourage open communication. It's very, very important. Though we believe that nature's medicine is the best medicine, the reality is that our clients are taking pharmaceuticals. And we don't get anywhere by bashing people over the head for doing that, though we understand that nature's pharmacy is the best, you know. But how we get them from one side to the other is through education and empowering them to make their own decisions regarding their health rather than trying to beat them over the head about one thing to say this thing is better. Most people, they don't like that. But if you empower them and you educate them, you leave the information at their feet and let them have the autonomy to make their own decisions, that is the best thing to do. Not to say, why are you taking all that? Why are you taking the pharmaceutical? Don't you know this and that? Don't you know this? It's like, come on, you know? So the goal is change. The goal is health at any rate. And so if that is the goal and focusing on herbs and what we can do and how we can help, Staying in our lane, that's very important. And eventually, you never know, the clients may see that and be like, you know what? I'm going to talk to my doctor about reducing this, eventually getting off of this so that I can have a better quality of life because I really don't want my adrenals damaged. I don't really want my kidneys being damaged. I don't really want all these side effects. I want a good quality of life. So I'm going to move over to the natural side. So it's all about approach, right? It's all about approach. But the key takeaway tonight is that you want to understand herbal polypharmacy well. You want to know your formulas inside and out because this is a vital skill that will help mitigate risk in all cases, whether or not pharmaceuticals are involved. And so I'm going to be talking a lot about formulation and spending a lot of time there because I think that that's very important. Understanding your formulas inside out. So that way you understand the risk. And it'll give you more confidence as an herbalist, understanding the dis-ease or the imbalance the person is going through and the mechanics behind it, but then also understand the chemistry behind the medicine and the herbs and all of that, and how you can take the herbs to address the things that are going on within this particular body and address the imbalances that it's dealing with. This is how you can have more precision when it comes to your formulation. And that should be the goal, being able to have more prediction, more precision, and be precise and directly target the issue that is in the person so that you can actually see results and they can see results. That's ultimately the goal. Because if they don't see the results, they're not going to think it's effective. Now, I'm not saying they're going to see results tomorrow or a week from now, but if they understand that there's a goal and a pathway and they see, even if it's small changes, they see that the changes are happening in a positive direction, they're more apt to stay the course. So we as herbalists, we have to understand these formulations. We have to understand how to formulate. We have to understand how to formulate to target specifically those areas. And that's a lot about the receptors and the biochemical pathways and these things that we want to try to target to impact change. So we'll talk more about that later, but I just wanted to leave that there as a side note. So let me give you an example of polypharmacy in action from a clinical perspective. So let's say you have a client that is dealing with chronic stress and digestive upset, and you decide to start with a simple nervine blend with a few calming herbs that are known to actually soothe the nervous system. But over time, you also decided to kind of layer in some digestive bitters and a mild anti inflammatory to your formulation. At some point, you noticed that the client felt more fatigued. So, as you begin to review the formula that you created, you realized that two of the herbs that you chose had overlapping sedative effects, basically causing this person to really feel down. At this point, you want to adjust the dosage, right? And then you swapped out one herb, which actually helped to balance things out. And this experience really reinforces the importance of listening carefully to the body and being ready to adapt your formulas as you go. Because even though they were both herbs, right, they had overlapping sedative effects. And of course, that increased the sedative effect for the person. And a lot of times, you don't want to make big increases like that. It's just a little bit of an effect. You don't want to make super huge overhaul changes like that within the body. So, let me give you a few key takeaways from tonight's conversation. And I hope it has benefited you in some way. you know, Polypharmacy is a natural and necessary part of herbal medicine, but it comes with both power and responsibility. Knowing your herbs thoroughly and designing formulas thoughtfully can maximize the benefits and minimize the risk. Another point is that you want to start simple. Add complexity mindfully, right? Don't try to jump in there too deep, too quick, and always monitor your client's feedback very closely. Another point I'm going to leave you with is that while clients may be on pharmaceuticals, your skill in managing herbal polypharmacy is very important to safe and effective care. So, no matter what, if you have a strong understanding of herbal polypharmacy, you will be able to create more targeted, effective herbal formulations that are safe, that are not harming people, whether they're on pharmaceuticals or not. All right. So, thank you for joining me tonight on this deep dive into polypharmacy in herbal medicine. I hope I was able to give you some fresh perspectives on how to approach your formulas with confidence and care. And until next time, keep learning, keep growing, keep celebrating the power of plants. And until next time, family, I'm out.